BlizzCon in the books and another interesting Q&A. These are always like the things that I look forward to the most each year because there's always some interesting questions. Usually about like 70% of them are things I don't care about, but then the 30% that I do are really big. And if you didn't see it, they actually did answer one thing, and like it was like really like aggressively answered about faction imbalance. So I don't really care about this as a person, but I definitely care about it for the game because it's definitely ridiculous to see, like, even if you go on like recruitment forums, there's like no Alliance guilds recruiting. Like they've all given up, man. It's a shame. Unless you have a really strong community, it's probably really difficult to get any serious things done on Alliance. So I definitely feel like, I mean, as much as we joke about it on the stream, it can't continue, right? So I think it's, there should definitely be a way to solve this within the game systems that won't break the game systems. It doesn't have to be a lore change, like which we thought they were going to do with BFA. I thought they had the actual solution there in BFA, but they didn't. They didn't act on it. So it's possible that they've been considering this for years, and I think they have been. But anyway, yeah. If you didn't see that question and answer, it was actually like brought up again, and Ian like went right back to war for it. He was like, "No, listen, we are considering this." So a lot of people are saying like that his lack of a, like, typically he would say like nothing to announce right now, but it's something that will be coming in the future. That's typically how he answers questions that are definitely happening, but this is not definitely happening because there's no easy solution to it. So I'm very eager to see what this comes with. But so what we're going to do today, a little fun little thing. I want to read through all the posts on this thread. So this was like a thread that was made a couple days, it was like right before the Q&A, the day before. It was like, just in case, I don't know why they even do this. I think it's mostly like psychology. It's like, oh, I can ask my question. Maybe they'll get answered. And I think they hope that a lot of the questions are going to overlap, so it feels like your actual question got answered. But there's some really good questions in this thread and some really bad ones. And I think it'd be fun to just go through them all and answer them like if I'm pretending to actually be the person that would be asked the question. So let's go through it. I think it'll be great. What are all requirements? Let's make it bigger too. We could do that, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, what are all the requirements for Pathfinder flying? So if you guys didn't see, they actually confirmed that this is account-wide. There's like a big debate on the forums about this. No surprise, sadly. But people are like, oh, if it requires renown, then it's not going to be account-wide. In like MOP and like Wrath and stuff like that, it used to be character-specific. But you could actually buy it and send it to your character, I believe. So people were like freaking out. They thought it was not going to be account wide. It is account wide. All it requires is progressing the campaign. Although there was some conflicting topic about this. It was like one guy said something that contradicted Ian. So I assume that Ian's the correct party. But anyway, can we expect to see any sort differences made in environments of our covenant zones due to regaining lost anima, and will it be easier to obtain? So yeah, they did say that they're going to be making anima more easy to obtain, more sources of it coming in 9.1, which is pretty cool. But there's actually, ever since they buffed dungeons, I don't really, like, just go spam dungeons. It's really easy how much anima I get a week from just dungeons. I actually just bought the backpack too today. Let's take a look at that real quick. I just bought this thing. It's so much money, or so much anima, but I'm so glad I got it. It's awesome. But anyway, yeah, so this guy's basically asking, like, can we see any differences in the environments? I hope no. Like, I would say no. Let's not ever do that. I can't stand when you start an expansion with the zone looking one way and then it ends with it looking completely different. I really don't like that because it makes you, like, want a private server, honestly. Like, I want to go back. Like, I don't want to not be able to see that zone that way anymore. And that's one of my biggest regrets about MOP, and I'm definitely not too pleased with that. So hopefully, no. Will anima continue to be a currency for 9.1 rewards? And if so, will you be increasing anima drops to further balance our progression? So he did answer that. Basically, he said it will continue. Yep, obviously. But they're not going to be adding like thousands and thousands of new things over the course of the expansion. A common complaint is that people are always like, oh, it's going to take me 2 years to get all of this stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not. First of all, if you actually played the game, it would not take you that long. And second of all, I don't think a lot of people realize, but like if I wanted all the Ardenweald cosmetics, I can just make more Ardenweald characters and farm anima on those. Like these people are suggesting that like no matter how much time they put in, they can only gain so much anima, which is just false, first of all, because you can spam dungeons for them. They're very lucrative now. But even more so, you can just make new characters. You know what I mean? And just go do that. Even if you had 4 Arden Wheel characters and just did the world boss and any weekly anima you got on those 4 characters, you would have enough to buy the entire. You know, like you could buy one. I don't know how it works with the sets and stuff, but I assume you have to buy each piece. So you'd buy like 1 piece a week on 4 characters, and then that's 4 times faster than you would have done it on just 1 character. So, can we ride the pirate dragon? No, they said that will not be a mount. Will we see Arthas in the upcoming patch? We'll see Anduin, who I think at this point has to have some direct connection to Arthas. I just think what they're going to do is they're not going to include an Arthas voice actor. You know, they're not going to try to like make Arthas again, like physically. And I would be disappointed if they did this, but I think that's what they're going to invoke the spirit of Arthas, and that song is better than seeing Arthas. I will say that. So, can we get more loot? Yes, you can. Just go play the game more. Here's my question, which did not get answered, and I'm 65 hearts. Look at that. What are the plans for legendaries in season 2? Will there be new item levels and profession ranks to craft? Will there be new legendaries in general? Is wearing 2 legendaries on the table? Probably asked too many questions in one. I don't know. They don't really answer. The thing that I was surprised about with the Q&A was it's like, you know how people get up there and they say like, hey, Metro from Firetree 1, shout out to the guild, you know, stuff like that. They actually included the guild. And I was like, man, I really wish that could have happened. That would have been awesome. But anyway, they didn't seem to have any anything to share about legendaries, which is kind of surprising to me because they talked about like anima powers like crazy. But nothing to talk about with legendaries, which is definitely, I'm surprised. Okay, will long-standing bugs such as the glacial fragment bug for frost mages or convoke for bombkins on Minerva be fixed anytime soon? Nah, they won't be fixing any bugs. Why would you even ask a question like this? You know they're not going to answer this, right? Like, why waste it? I know people are just like petty and they just want to be like, they just want to be petty basically, but it's like, that's just a stupid question. Just don't ask that question. And then will the AoE cap be looked at? It should be all or none capped. No, it shouldn't be. As it is currently, certain specs with uncapped AoEs are vastly preferred in some content. Yeah, I mean, that was actually answered by, can't remember who, but somebody answered that question on a different, not the actual Q&A. But they were basically like, yeah, it's working as intended. Like, we are seeing a lot more ranged, and that's a good thing, man. I'm telling you, like, the AoE cap is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. There's no reason that so the whole, like, it should be all or none capped. It's like, you don't understand why they did it in the first place. The reason they did it in the first place was because at one point in this game, like, a Frost Mage's Blizzard was the best spell for that scenario. And like a Fury Warrior's Cleave was the best spell for like a 2-target scenario. You know what I mean? So like a Frost Mage wouldn't just use Blizzard on 2 targets, and a Warrior wouldn't cleave on 40 targets. You know, like or they would, but it wouldn't be as effective. Like, so there was like diversity in the types of damage profiles. And everybody was like, oh, class design, class design, class design. So this is one of the ways that they made that happen again. It looks like something that it's not. Well, it was also something that was trying to address. Sorry. Anyway, it was something that was trying to address like an MDI type scenario, like just mass pull and AoE everything down without any effort. But it was also trying to make class design more rich, and it has done both of those, right? So I certainly think it's a good thing. I mean, these specs that people are saying are capped, like we're talking about Rogue and Demon Hunter, and I guess even like Hunter. I mean, people are like complaining like crazy about Hunter at the beginning of the season. And so, yeah, I don't know. Okay. Does that mean the question I submitted the other day won't be considered? So, yeah, they had a second thread up, which is kind of weird. I don't really know why they had a second thread up. This is actually a second thread, like if they were not even considering questions from the first one, which on the first one I asked a question about Chromie time. Absolutely no talk about leveling, which I guess is not surprising because it's just such a specific thing. But anyway, this is a great one. Why are you still ignoring the fact that Blood DKs and Prot Warriors are massively underperforming in nearly every aspect of tanking in this expansion? Because 1, they're not, and 2, they're not ignoring it. I mean, they're literally making class changes and changing like legendaries and ways that the class might interact with their max level power constantly. I mean, that's what 9.0.5 is. And if you're going to lump, okay, I mean, like, I hate to do this, like, I really do, but if you're going to lump Blood DK in there and you're actually playing Blood DK right now, I think you just suck at it. I really hate to say that, but I think you do. And unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any reason to think that you know what you're talking about there. So that's an unfortunate. I just it doesn't make me happy. Let's try not to say anything bad about the person, but. And the thing about Prot Warrior is that they just lost all their overpowered stuff. Like, they are not weaker than they were in Season 1 of BFA, right? Do you remember Season 1 of BFA? They were really, really bad. Like, so bad that it did look like they could not actually play the class at the high level. And that's certainly not the case for Prot Warrior now. They're quite strong. They're just... They don't have that niche. They've always had this problem. This is how they were in Legion, too. They had the same problem. They're just a worse bear and a worse paladin. And that's always going to be the case. Because when those specs are stronger, they're just better. They bring more healing, they bring more utility, they bring oftentimes more things that make dungeons easier, like burst offense or battle reses, or just, things like the specs that are in the meta don't necessarily have a lot of. So I'd take a Prot Paladin over a Prot Warrior all day right now, right? You know what I mean? And if Prot Warrior and Prot Pally flipped, then you'd say the same thing. Prot Pally's useless, Prot Warrior's the best. So that's just how it goes. Can you buff Arcane Mage and make Slipstream baseline? No. When should we be expecting 9.1 to drop? That will not be announced at BlizzCon, obviously. I don't know why anybody would expect that, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't at least say like a quarter or something like that. But that means they're pretty far away, unfortunately. So I think it's a while, and I'm very happy about that because I think 9.0.5 is what we really need. And new content is not what I need at all right now. I'm having a lot of fun with Season 1, and I do not want it to end anytime soon. So if Season 1 is the longest season of the expansion, I'd love that. This has been such a great season. Now, are there any plans to revert the AoE cap? No. It's definitely working as intended. No plans to revert it. And I think a lot of the people who think it should be reverted are either just looking at extreme fringe cases, like coming from a mage. That's interesting. But yeah, they're looking at like extreme fringe cases. Like I have not seen any indication that like a demon hunter cannot compete in Mythic Plus. Like, you know what I mean? And in fact, I've seen many demon hunters actually top the charts with mages and balanced druids and hunters in the class, like in the class pool. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Apparently, that's a huge issue. Is that they're AOE capped, but I haven't seen buff demon hunter. We were just talking about that. My biggest concern. I love this transmog, by the way. Is that like a male? Is that the Night Fae male set? I gotta get that. My biggest concern about Covenants is how limiting they are flavor-wise. If you want to be a viable Demon Hunter tank, you have to go Kyrian. That's actually not true. Or PvP DPS, it's Night Fae. For instance, for those of us who like to think of our characters as people, whether or not we roleplay with each other or write full backstories, this feels limiting. Are there any plans to balance the Covenant abilities a bit more? Yeah, they're literally doing that in 9.0.5. I guess you haven't been paying attention. But yeah, this whole thing, like, this is a community-made issue, okay? You can absolutely do keys as a non-Kyrian Demon Hunter. Like, are you kidding me, dude? I mean, there's people out there doing it, right? So I don't know. Like, the problem I have with this is, like, sure, I guess if you're talking about trying to do 25s, then maybe it matters, right? But like, let's not joke around here. Like, this person is not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just go play the game and have fun, dude. Stop worrying about what other people think of you. That's the best way I could put it. Will the Pirate Dragon have a mount modeled off it? Maybe there will be some mount similar, but they did say that the Pirate Dragon is like not going to be a mount. Can we get a range survival as forward spec for Hunter? No, but you can actually play survival as a range right now, to great detriment to the DPS, obviously. But since they added back Steady Shot and Arcane Shot, you can actually slap on a bow and just use your pet abilities and Wildfire Bomb, or I can't remember what the spells are called, but I was actually going to do this for a leveling challenge, and it's quite interesting. The problem is I would rather just do a Survival Hunter normal because I really like that playstyle, but it's quite interesting. You can actually play a Survival Hunter as a range right now, and there's a bunch of like PvP talents and other talents in general that could make it work too, so maybe I'll do that. Anyway, will only the Maw mounts be usable in Corthia, or will we be able to use normal mounts there, and the Maw will still have its restrictions? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to this one. Corthia is technically part of the Maw, but considering we're able to... I think they did say that like any mount will work. You just can't fly there. So I assume that also is relevant to Corthia, which is not spelled with a C. I would also like to know the requirements for pathfinding and when in the patch you foresee people gaining access to it. So yeah, the requirements are there. Just complete the campaign. It's probably going to be like pretty far into the campaign, obviously. If it's anything like it was in Legion, it was like, I think, 11 weeks from the patch's launch, so would not be surprised if that's the case. Tier sets, are they going to be a thing? Yes, they did have multiple conversations about tier sets throughout BlizzCon, and apparently it's a ton of work, so they're not planning on Season 2, but probably Season 3. Will the new raid have class tier sets? So not Season 2, but Covenant cosmetic armor seem a little lackluster. Sorry you feel that way, but obviously they can't just make tier sets instantly. So I think they're really trying to hit it hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's also a design thing with tier sets. It's not just a cosmetic thing, because it's going to be very difficult to make tier sets matter in 3 different content pathways when they're trying to make that relevant. Anyway, why did you think reskinning stuff off prestigious rewards was acceptable? Because it has been for 15 years. Welcome to World of Warcraft. What is the status on tier sets? It was disappointing to see no tier sets in the BlizzCon presentation. I missed the old class-themed armor sets, and none of the new Covenant sets really jumped out at me. Would love to return a class-themed armor set. Yeah, like we said, that's probably going to happen in Season 3. Definitely not Season 2, it seems, but yeah, I mean, I guess I was disappointed that they didn't talk about it too, but it's coming in the future, not the near future. When is the next expansion after Shadowlands? I'm not going into the Maw. It's a while. You got 2 years at least of Shadowlands. And frankly, since they're so behind, probably going to be 2.5 years. What is the status on player housing? No, it will never happen. It's the dumbest fucking idea anybody ever asked for. We need less things to keep people in instances, not more. Okay? So I don't know why people keep asking about this shit, but it was never going to work in a while. Like, literally, it's never going to fucking work, right? Unless you allow me to build a house literally anywhere. Unless you turn this game into Minecraft, where I can go cut down trees and build a house, it's not going to fucking work. Because it's just going to be in some shitty area. It's going to be in some dumbass area that has nothing to it. And all you're going to be able to do is, like, play some little mini game, like a worse garrison, right? Does anybody really like what garrisons were? I think like very few people would, right? They were cool for like the modality of what our characters were interested in, right? Like we can get free resources, and it was like a central hub for all these dailies and all this stuff. But it's like, for the world, it was the worst thing they ever, literally the worst thing they ever did. Keeping people in this instance thing. So unless you literally turn this game into Minecraft, where I could see thousands of other people's houses, and I can literally go make my house anywhere in the world. I can make it in Westfall. I can make it in Ungoro Crater. I can make it anywhere. They're not going to do that, by the way. Then don't bother. It's a complete waste of time. Why do you want player housing? What are you going to do in your house? Go play the game, dude. There's nothing to do. Anyway, can we please get rid of the Mythic Cross-Realm lock behind the factions between Horde and Alliance? You can keep Hall of Fame, but get rid of the requirement to unlock it. This is due to Horde and Alliance imbalance, creating timing. So you can't actually have both. If you want both, you just can't have both, because then people would be boosting. They would be selling the achievement. Okay, so you can't actually have that. I mean, that still happens, I'm sure, but I don't think. Yeah, because basically what you would do is you would just form like carry groups, sell it for like 10 billion gold, and then make a whole new guild and go do it again. So I don't know why that hasn't actually happened. I'm surprised. More talk hasn't arrived about that. Like, think about it, right? If 20 great players all just went and made an alliance guild, 19 of them there, and then they sold the last spot and they went and killed it for the first time, does Blizzard have some like protection against that? I don't know. But this would definitely be a worse problem if it could be, done across realm, because then it would be a lot easier to find people. But anyway, yeah, obviously the alliance imbalance is something that they did talk about a lot. But cross-realm being unprogressible does not register. Like, you're supposed to be in a guild to raid Mythic. That's just how it is. I'm glad that that's how it is, because it's very difficult. And if we had to keep pugging, it would be insanely unfun. But yeah, I do like the fact that it is puggable at the end, at least, some of the early bosses. What's in 9.2? We're talking about 9.1, my friend. Will Torghast Twist and Corridor specifically give any rewards? Yeah, I think they did say, like, they're trying to add more rewards. They're vastly changing Torghast. If you didn't see this, it's like some crazy stuff coming. I'm actually really surprised. So, if we're about to kill the Terragu, will the boss that boots us out of Torghast change? Yeah, so they're actually getting rid of the Terragu. So changes to Torghast include no more deaths being the metric. And they're also going to be having like success-based rewards instead of just did we finish it or did we not finish it. So that's pretty cool. Will there be more character customization such as Worgen Tales? So they actually said no, which has really caused a lot of people to be upset. They actually said no, we're not doing any more customization this expansion, which I'm surprised by, but I guess whatever. I really don't care, but that's definitely disappointed a lot of people. Anyway, if the jailer is able to use Anima as a vessel, did he do the same thing to extent with regards to Sylvanas, or her actions are all hers? It's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I would love to see what Sylvanas is. I'm telling you, there will be a bittersweet moment with Sylvanas, and even Steve, the newser, or whatever his name is, he was talking about how this is going to be the most lore impactful raid fight ever, or something like that. And I'm like, oh my god. I mean, that's pretty wild, right? I cannot wait for it. I don't normally care about the lore. But actually, now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Anduin, or if Arthas was present in some way on that encounter. Anyway, when do we get to see Varian Rid? Oh yeah, it's a good question. Is Varian, yeah, he's like not in Shadowlands at all, right? He should be there, obviously. Admiral Taylor? I don't know who these people are. Ani or Nefarian? Yeah, I mean, no plans currently, right? Going into TBC Classic? No. When are you going to implement an actual renowned catch-up mechanic for alts? They have one, yeah. I'm trying to get my Druid cap to current cap, but I've been stuck at 21 for 3 days doing content that supposedly has a chance to drop renown. 3 days is not that long, so good luck. Why didn't you let us have summonable wings as a Kyrian mount? It was so obvious and would have actually been unique. I'm so disappointed I can cry. Okay, well, if that's a serious comment, you should probably get off the internet for the day, but yeah, I'm surprised. I love the Kyrian mount, though, to be honest. That's way cooler than summonable wings. I really wish that you could play somehow as a Kyrian. Like, I love that model. It's just so awesome looking. If I could be one of the Covenants, it would be Kyrian. I love the Knife and what it does for my DK, but if I can actually be somebody from a Covenant, it would be Kyrian. Will Covenant restrictions be lifted since no, they will not be. Will there be an expansion of races / class types, Pandaren Druids? They actually answered this question, which I'm surprised by, because it's like, it was just a non-answer. It's like, no, we're not doing that. I don't know why they bother with those questions. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me think like they are actually just picked without any screening. Because it's like, why would you answer that question if you don't? Like, he basically said, like, we think about it all the time, but it has to make sense, and there's none right now that makes sense. So, Pandaren Druids, I would love human Druids, but it's just, the thing is, when you make new Druids, you have to make new Druid forms, so that takes a lot of time. Can we expect new allied races later in the expansion? Seems like no, right? I mean, they said no heritage armor. I think we're done with this stuff, man. I mean, they'll probably do it at some point, but it's like very low priority. 5 questions. What happened to pull the ripcord? Not needed. Why did the development staff abandon a backup plan in order to forge ahead with mechanics no one likes? People do like them. The Maw is one of the 2 chores that are annoying to player. Why expand it? Because that's not a chore. It's part of the game. Why is Blizzard ignoring the lack of loot for players and only implementing minor... They're not. Yeah, they're actually making huge changes. Can the developers just confirm that they're pushing a Sylvanas for... No, they wouldn't confirm something that would be that important. You're an asshole, honestly. trying to ask these questions like, imagine if they actually asked these questions. Like, what do you expect him to say, dude? Seriously. Like, you're just a fucking asshole if you ask these questions. If you take up the time of them to, like, you blocked out somebody else's legitimate question. What happened to pull the ripcord? Just eat a fucking dick, man. Seriously. Anyway, there's been a real lack recently of ranged weapon models that have a WoW factor similar to two-handed swords. Are there any plans to bring back level of intricate, over-the-top classic WoW feel at Quel'Thalas bow? I don't think they would answer this question because obviously they probably don't feel like that. But I do kind of agree. A lot of the caster weapons too, like staves. I feel like WoD staves, like there was like the peak there. And Legion, obviously artifacts were great, but yeah, I don't know. Two-handed swords and maces and stuff. It's just easier to be badass, right? Like a staff, you could literally use a tree branch, but you can't really swing a tree branch. That's this two-handed sword. When can we expect continuation of the character customization process? Never, it seems. Yeah, maybe next expansion, but they've like actually said no, we're not doing it. Will Uther have more relevance than... Yes, obviously. They wouldn't have included him in that storyline, in that little cinematic and animatic. They called it animatic. That's the first time I heard that word. That's interesting. Animatic. Animated matic instead of cinematic. But yeah, no, that's cool. They will definitely include him. Simple. When is the intended launch of 9.1? Probably for a long time, sadly. Customization? No. Any news on 9.0? No, none of this. Obviously, why would you even... It's like, yeah, they're going to talk about 9.2 in a Q&A, dude. Are you joking? Any plans on removing rating gating gear? No. What are you talking about? What do you want, 226 just from doing casual battlegrounds? Are we still getting heritage armor in the future? I would say yes, right? But I think the answer might actually be no. I mean, they have to do it, right? They can't just have no heritage armor for, like, so many different classes. But it does seem like it was a BFA feature. With the increase in the amounts of conduits and soulbinds, well, yeah, so did you see? Oh, that was a cool conversation they said about soulbinds. They're actually going to add more rows. Maybe more columns, but definitely more rows. Will we see more conduit energy? Maybe even removal of the system? It's actually a good point, actually. Yeah, like if there's like twice as many conduits and stuff, then yeah, they should definitely increase that system. It's just such a low priority for them, so I don't think they're going to do that. They're not going to announce it anyway. Now that we've stopped Denathria's hoarding Anima, will we see that impacted in the world and see Anima drop increase? I think no, but I would love that, actually. So don't really know what they're going to do with that, but it would make sense, right? Like I actually think they should do this. They should just like increase. I think they should just make all mobs drop Anima. I still don't understand why they don't do that. Anyway, when can we expect to get heritage armor for races we don't have it yet? A lot of questions on that. Yeah, they don't seem to be a priority. This is any that are replies to other people. Forest Strider tattoos for Blood Elves when? Forest Strider tattoos. What is that? I don't know what that is. Some kind of new customization for Blood Elves. Yeah, unfortunately, you missed the boat. I guess they're not going to do any more. For Covenants, I want to be able to experiment, and the requirements to change are brutal and involve some sort of luck with renowned catch-up. Any plans to change this in the future? The whole, like, luck thing, it's like... What do you want? Like, they're not going to just give you automatic... You know what I mean? Like... You can't just guarantee yourself going to get 30 in one day. Like, that's not how it ever was going to work. I think, like, you need to count your blessings on this. Because, like, you could... I don't know exactly how it works, but the alternative was just you're 30 weeks behind. Like, I think that's what they probably were going to do in a previous iteration of the system. So, yeah, I don't... It's not brutal, and it's certainly not stopping you from experimenting. But I will say this, they really need to find a way to make it so you could actually test these things at max level, because it's just ridiculous. Like, trying to do it while leveling is not sufficient. You need to see the soul binds and stuff. So I definitely like how Covenants are working, but I definitely regret that I can't even try it on my DK without being, you know, having to do weeks of effort. So I would love to just try Necrolord just to see how it feels at max level, like with the soul binds and the conduits and stuff. But I'm not going to do that because then I'm going to have to spend a bunch of time going back to Night Fae. So I guess the answer is level more characters. A fly with a saddle for a mount. Why? Good question. When can we expect easier swapping for Covenants and or tier sets that were kind of teased but not confirmed? They're definitely confirmed. Probably never easier swapping for Covenants. This is already, like, I don't know. They need to make it actually matter if you swap, so. Are you going to reduce the Anima cost of Covenant cosmetics? Because as it is now, it's very unfun grind. It feels really bad. Maybe purchasing the cosmetics should have been tied to Covenant reputation instead. Well, they are also tied to Covenant reputation, so that's just a weird question to ask. But no, they're probably not going to ever lower them because the costs really aren't that long. And Ian actually said this in the Q&A. I think this was actually one of the questions that was answered. Probably not from this person, but yeah, basically he said, like, they're there for 2 years. Like, they're meant to be, you could gain them after Shadowlands. So, you know what I mean? They're not just going to lower them. Gold making has been nerfed a lot when it comes to raw gold via old raids. When can we expect scaling so we can roll through old raids as we should? What the hell are you even talking about? What do those two things have to do with each other? Scaling, I don't know. People use this word like so obscurely. I feel like I have no idea why people use this word half the time they use it. What is scaling? What are you even talking about? Scaling what? The raw gold? Scaling the raid? The raid's never going to scale, dude. It's fucking max level content for the expansion it was in. Will they add more customization for player models? No. Will we learn what the jailer is actually trying to do? Yes. Obviously. Like what? Will we learn what the jailer is actually trying to do? No. They're never going to explain anything about the jailer, dude. Will you be removing player power from Covenants? No. Tier sets, yes. Can you stop ignoring the fact of the faction imbalance and truly do something about it? And that is actually, like I said, that's probably the announcement of the BlizzCon. Like, no, it's one of the biggest announcements ever, actually. They didn't really announce anything specifically, but that's pretty crazy. So, you promised that Sylvanas wouldn't be a raid boss. No, they definitely did not. Why are there so many lies directed at us who wish to remain on her side? I definitely don't think that was promised, first of all. And second of all, I don't think it's going to be your average raid boss. Like, just because she's a raid boss doesn't mean that she dies, right? Like, Valithria Dreamwalker was a raid boss too. But that was not a boss that we killed, right? Anyway, from a gear perspective, do you have any plans to incentivize players to return to older raids dungeons in the current expansion when new content comes out? No, of course not. You mean like, oh, this person probably means like doing Castle Nathria in Season 2, I guess. I hope. I don't think they mean Legion or something. But no, I don't think they want that. It's just, it sounds awesome, and it would be cool. I think they should just add Titan Forge. Just fucking add Titan Forging back. Come on. Like, seriously, you know what I mean? I don't know. Legion's systems for old raids was the best. Like, they had BLP, Bad Luck Protection for Legendaries, so you would very heavily incentivize to farm the old raids. They had the chance of Titan Forging, and they had a lot of AP dropping from those things. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it could still be for Anima. Everybody's like, oh my god, there's no Anima. So go do old raids. In Classic Vanilla, guilds still had a great reason if they wanted to jump back into Molten Core. It seems the retail version lacks this. Yeah, so this is actually an intentional lack, though, and you're describing it from the wrong direction here. It's like you don't want this in Live WoW. You really don't, because then the reason that they needed, if they wanted to jump back into Molten Core, isn't any better than it is now. It's just poorly made. The game was just poorly made. Like, gear from Molten Core was just better than gear from BWL at times, right? So it's like, that's just how it's going to work, because the game wasn't made well. In TBC, like, you know what I mean? That doesn't work that way. So it's better to look at it from TBC. It's like you had to progress through, the first tier, like tier 4 and tier 5 to do tier 6. That's not how it is anymore. Seasons come with like a character restart, basically. So you think that that's a good idea, but you've never raided in a guild that would affect, because that would suck really bad. Like, if somebody returned to the game and there was no way for them to catch up other than do hours of raids that are no longer difficult or interesting, I don't think I would like that. But I would like it a little bit, a little bit. So I hope that there would be a way, but I don't think so. What happens to the Archon? So yeah, that was weird. He actually confirmed that she's not dead. He got stabbed in the chest and something stolen from her. But Steve the user was like, you could see your hand. It's still moving. It's like, okay. Whatever. Will the allied races get more customization? It doesn't look like it, but I definitely think they should. When doing the Ardenweald campaign and releasing Ysera for her slumber, the Winter Queen says, so this is of my sister. As we know, the Eternal Ones are Titan-like beings, but we also know Ysera has been chosen by Elune. Does this mean Ysera is also Titan-like being with the Shadowlands? Are we hitting another thing? The main issue is, will we know more of this in Chains Domination? Yes. I mean, come on, dude. You think they're not going to do storyline with that? Like, come on. They're obviously going to continue doing storyline that involves the Winter Queen and all this stuff going on in Ardenweald. Why did you increase the price of game time for Canadians? Are you trying to edge Canadians out of your game? Yes, they have no place in the game. Honestly, they should not be allowed to play. No, they did it because the fucking exchange rate is no longer the same as it used to be, and they demand to make a profit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, does this make fully sense to you? If the exchange rate of two currencies changes to the point that the company no longer makes a profit, what do you think's going to happen? It's fine, we don't care. Why did you guys decide to call this 9.1 and not 9.0.6? Because it's a new major content patch, and that's the convention that they've always used. 9.0.6 would be like a small addition to 9.0.5 changes. Will there be a new socket grind since the first socket? Yes, there will be, or at least there will be no socket grind continuing from Season 1. Is solo queue arena on the table? No. Content like that, including raids and other PvE content too, is meant to be done as a group, a cohesive group. So you can pug that, but you'll never be able to just queue in randomly because it's not meant to be progressed through that way. And to the point where it would actually have to be like a whole new system, right? Like, I don't know how they would even handle it. Will we see the return of tier sets in the new raid? Not in the new raid, no. When will we be able to freely swap covenants? Maybe 10.0? Any plans to make covenant... That would actually be a good time for it, actually. Any plans to make the covenant abilities into a talent row system? No. Given new armors are coming out and the covenants are united, could we as players have the chance to join a second covenant? Now, that would be interesting. Join a second covenant. That would be a lot more interesting than only being in a 1. But I think what they would do is your primary covenant is the one that you get the spells and the power-ups from. And then the second covenant could be like, oh, I'm here for the cosmetics. That'd be cool. Also, Twilight Hammer's cult set and other gray items. Transmoggable when? Cult set. Yeah, gray items will never be transmoggable. They would have to become bind and pickup when they are. You cannot transmog something that can be traded. So that's how that works. Throughout Battle for Azeroth, classes were largely stagnant, and most classes played the same talent build and had the same gameplay throughout the expansion. Does the dev team have any plans to tackle this problem? And if yes, how so? I think they're probably more concerned with covenants and legendaries, because that actually matters. They didn't design any... I mean, they did change some talents, but it's not like max level content was about talents. So you should be looking at conduits and things like that. That's the stuff that you should be asking. Most classes played the same Azerite, whatever, empowerments or essences. That would be the functional thing, BFA, that they didn't really change, I don't think. But no, obviously they are going to try to balance things better. But they don't care if people play the same talent build. And again, that's mostly a social thing. Like if on paper, all 3 abilities have good functionality and people don't use the other 2, like it's happening a lot with DK, right? Like we talk about this all the time with Bone Storm, Red Thirst, Purgatory. These are actually all really good abilities, but I'm never going to use Bone Storm or Purgatory. Like I just don't do content where I need Purgatory. Very, very rarely anyway. I might have to take it for some things, and I don't ever want to use Bone Storm because it's going to be too big of an adjustment when I don't want to use it again. But that doesn't mean these things need to change, right? And it'd be the same thing with these talents here. Like Fall Bulwark is certainly could probably go back to 2%. But Relish in Blood is probably better than Blood Tap in 99% of scenarios. But I'm never going to not take Blood Tap because how it interacts with my Covenant. So that doesn't mean they should change it. They shouldn't be trying to force me to change my talents. That's not good for anybody. When will the Vile Fumigator's mask be unlocked for Transmog? Huh. It's probably a secret. I don't even know what this is. It's probably a secret. And they want you to figure it out. Upright Male Worgen customization. That would be cool. Customization options in general, no. How large is the new zone? Large. Can we please get the Mega Dungeon as Mythic Plus before 9.2? I don't think they would be open to that because they wanted to play out. If they did, there would be no reason for it to be a 0, right? That's the problem with making new dungeons. It's like nobody cares about them in Mythic Plus anymore, or when Mythic Plus comes out. Allied races when? Follow-up? Salient, yeah, I don't think we're getting new allied races. This is the guy who makes a DBM. Will flying unlock that's tied to Covenant renowned? What the hell? He really thinks it's spelled this way? Anyway, progress still be account-wide. Yes, confirmed account-wide. Or is this a new type of system? Yeah, confirmed account-wide. Anyway, so are we going to rename him to Badwin? Good one. Do we have any plans to update, add customization for allied custom? No, it doesn't seem like it. Tier sets, Soul Ash catch-ups, Conduit Energy, Covenant swapping. No tier sets. Well, yes, not coming soon, but soon after that. Soul Ash catch-up. I think he did talk about this. This was asked and there was some kind of answer, but I just don't really care enough because you only have a fixed amount of legendaries to make, so I don't know why anybody would. Conduit Energy, that was not talked about, and I don't really care. Covenant swapping, no, definitely not. Why don't you communicate with the community much more frequently? Because of questions like we've seen in this Q&A. There's just so much bullshit in this community. Like, there's no reason for them to communicate, but there's actually a more direct answer to that. It's because whenever they release a statement, it has to be something that they want to release. And most communication wouldn't happen in that way. Like, if you and I are talking, we're just going to talk. You know what I mean? But then if all of a sudden you start like recording everything I say and start being like, "Lol, look at what he said to me while he was talking to me," well, then we're probably not going to continue talking much after that, right? And that's what's happened. This game has actually had like people like completely distort and warp everything that ever gets said by the communities, like by the developments, mouthpieces. To the point that it's like, why would they communicate? There's nothing to communicate about. You don't want them to communicate with you. You just want your problem solved, and it's not going to be a two-way communication. So, sadly, that's 2021 with WoW. Anyway, people already made a lot of cool questions, so I'll ask a selfish one. Any new glyphs? Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done new glyphs at all. It would have been cool, like maybe in 10.0 we could do glyphs that reminisce on the Covenant's situation. That'd be awesome. Oh yeah, they should just make glyphs that you can buy with Anima from the Covenant. Anyway, any chances for future pet change for classes, like a list of stables for all classes with pets? A type of stables. What pets were we talking about? Warlocks? I don't get that. DK and Frost Mage are the only other ones, right? And they have one pet only, so I'd love an addition like that since Pandaria waiting for more. Oh, yeah, okay, Warlocks. Maybe that'd be cool. Can you tone down the mob density? It's pretty low, honestly. You can sneak around, especially in the maw. I could literally go from one side of that zone to the other without getting in combat. It's pretty nuts. Or like getting in combat with maybe like 1 or 2 mobs, which is quite weird because they said it was going to be like dangerous the whole time, but there's plenty of ways to avoid danger in there. Will the new Torghast zone give better rewards? Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with rewards. When are you going to rework dead talents that no one takes because they're useless? Well, they probably aren't useless, so unlikely that they would ever answer this question. But I'm sure they're continuing to look at talents all the time. The problem with talents is it's kind of such a core feature. Like, it's there in PvE, PvP, low level, like questing, raiding, dungeons everywhere, that they probably don't make big changes unless it's like a major patch, you know, so. Well, you're getting more conduits and soulbind rows, so can we remove conduit energy? That's a common question. We can untie, also, can we untie player power from covenants so we could actually pick the covenant we want? Yeah, no, that's never going to happen. I mean, that's the whole reason that it's a decision, right? You were supposed to make a decision that you cared about. If there was no player power, nobody would care about it. It's just like 90% of people only care about power, so this is why they did it. And make no mistake, people ask for this. They don't know what they're asking for, so stop fucking asking for shit you don't understand. Wait, complexity limit. Oh, that's this guy. I didn't even realize, huh? Yeah, sorry, buddy. Impressive that he came out to try to make a statement, but okay, Hammerzite. There are many situations I find myself switching out conduits depending on the content or fight that I'm doing, and the conduit charge is just overall annoying and doesn't seem meaningful. It's weird how many people are having this problem. I don't ever change covenants or conduits. The only time I would ever change conduits is like if I was changing specs. So yeah, I mean you're supposed to have like a set spec loadout, right? That's why they gave you 3 soulbinds and 3 rows in each soulbind. So like for example, if I if I really wanted to switch from a potency here to a defensive, and it was that big of a deal to me, I would happily do that. Like I can just change to this row and not actually, you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to use a different potency conduit though, I mean that's a bit silly, right? Like I don't really fully get that. Like pick the one that's most applicable, and I guess maybe a lot of classes have ones that are applicable in different scenarios. But I don't know. This seems fair. 1 energy recharge in 21 hours. I don't know. I don't. Maybe there's a better situation. I don't deal with it, so I don't know. I see you, Corgi Soul Shape, coming my way. Also, will Anima actually flow? Yeah. So, talked a lot about this, but you can definitely afford to buy it, and it's supposed to be there for years. So yeah, you'll get it. The rework from Legion has been incredibly divisive with the hunter community, and has led to many players feeling ostracized. When are you adding an updated range survival as a 4th spec? Probably never, so continue the ostracization. The rework from Legion. What is he even talking about? There are too many buttons. Oh god, why would you say those words out loud? Jesus Christ. People just asked for years for more buttons or more class specific spells, and now that you get them, you're asking for the opposite. This is why this community is just, you can't respect it. It's not anybody's fault directly, but it's like one person wants less buttons, one person wants more buttons. You can't do both. Will we ever have a revamp to classes powers and stray away from borrowed power? No, I don't think so. I personally think the Covenant system was good, but Covenant specific abilities were a failure. Disagree? As we've seen from data, people inevitably choose what is strongest. Yeah, and that's a mistake on both parties' fault, right? Like, it's not just the game's fault. It's also the player's fault. If you're picking what somebody else tells you to pick and you don't actually maximize it, is it really the strongest? You know what I mean? Like, for me, my ability isn't the strongest. Most people wouldn't say it is. But if I use it well, I really struggle to believe how it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where that's coming from, but frankly, I think people might be wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, when will classes be strong on their own instead of relying on covenant abilities? Yeah, that's never going to happen. And I'll tell you why. This is actually really easy to understand. If you only ever had class stuff, then the imbalance of the classes would be way worse. Like when we had only class stuff in previous expansions, that's when imbalance was the worst. And a lot of people look at it as like, well, the class is imbalanced even with those things. But those things are way easier to tune than like a spell. You know what I mean? Like if Hard Strike just doesn't function well as a Blood DK, and that's all they put all their effort into making it function well, then they have to redesign the spec. But if like Death's Due doesn't function well, they just change it. Like, no, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's very easy to tune that. It's not going to impact the entire game. Whereas like the core of Blood DK has to stay the same, and then they build on that. And the reason that we're even able to have strong, like if they got rid of all this stuff, we would just be weaker. That's just what would happen, because they wouldn't be able to do what I just described. They're not going to put all the power that you have into a spell that you have, because if it ever became imbalanced, they would have to redesign the spell. So yeah, it's a lot easier to do that when we're talking about a spell that's like specific to Shadowlands. But yeah, it's just not going to work. Like, you think about all the power we've gained throughout Legion, and then throughout BFA, and now throughout Shadowlands. I think people want that, and they just don't realize they want it. They think if that wasn't borrowed, like if we kept Legion legendaries and artifacts, and we kept the BFA neck on and all this other stuff, like the game would be better. It's like it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be possible. We'd be doing like 500% of our output instead of 100%. Like it's not possible to synergize all these things without making them imbalanced. So in order to have that power like gain over the course of 2 years, they need systems like this that are going to go away after a while. So the Bastion leader dead. Yeah, so it's not actually, they're not actually dead. What are the plans to balance PvP? What are the plans to balance PvP in Season 2? Same as always, probably not try. Will there be any new World PvP open events like the Nashitar? Oh, maybe, yeah, I don't know. When will phasing be fixed? Everything is so dead in War Mode. Yeah, that's because War Mode doesn't really work in Shadowlands, right? Like, you can't really... The main place people are is the Maw. Like, they spend a lot of time in the Maw, or they spend a regular amount of time in the Maw, and you really do not want to have War Mode on in the Maw. So I've turned it off. I was a lifelong like War Mode all day. I love War Mode. So at max level, I turn it off because it's just not worth losing Stygia to. You really don't gain much more Stygia. I think they should probably just address that. Do you plan to increase the rate of gaining Anima as the expansion progresses? Yeah, so just kind of by default that would happen, right? It's never going to be static. Obviously, new content comes out. That means new sources of Anima. It's not like the old sources are suddenly not going to drop Anima anymore. So they're just going to continue to be expanded upon. Is flying going to be account-wide? Yeah, it's going to be account-wide. Will Torghast have any meaningful loot besides gear? So that's a common question. People complain about, like, there's no solo progression in the game, and I don't fully understand that. But regardless, one of the common complaints is Torghast. So let me tell you something about Torghast. So in the beta, or actually the alpha, they had gear that dropped from Torghast. It was just placeholder gear. I don't know if they ever intended to do much with it, but gear did drop. And then people were like, oh, we basically demand free access to Torghast. We don't want there to be any roadblocks to getting into Torghast. And you're like, okay, well, if we do this, we have to change how the functionality of its reward structures work, right? Because you can't just go in there and farm gear. It's not content that's producing that type of power system. So in order to do that, they had to remove the gear. Now, they could have done it another way. I think they could have done it similar to how they had visions. The problem is they still seem to have this like almost draconic notion that like you need to put in work somewhere to get something. And that sounds really asinine to even say out loud. But I think it is kind of stupid when we're talking about content like this. But at the same time, I completely understand their point. Like, you can't just walk into Torghast and just go get a free piece of gear. So one thing needs to be clear. If they ever did return Torghast gear-wise, it's probably going to be really bad gear. First of all, it's never going to be good gear, okay? And second of all, they probably won't ever do that just because this is now just a casual... Like, besides Soul Ash, this is just you go do it for fun. So if you don't like doing Torghast, then don't do it. Like, it's not that kind of system. And it's because of the community. And I think it's because of this person. This name sounds really familiar to me. I've seen this person a lot. I see no reason to run Twisting Corridors ever because I got them out. And in 9.1, we could use regular mounts in the mall. I love Twisting Corridors. I wish I had more time for it because it's one of my favorite features in the game. So, hey, if you don't like it, don't do it. Why are you making us pay gold for legendaries? Probably because people asked for like crafting to matter again for a very long time. So what else? What do you mean? Like, it's a crafted item now, so you have to pay gold for it. Or you could just make it yourself, which is what I've been doing. You don't even have to, like, you could pay gold to make it yourself and then sell the stuff you made and make the money back, which is awesome. Anyway, hello, hope everyone is safe and well. I'm not. Anyway, what is the current thoughts on talent balance? How likely are we to see changes in poor performing talents? Yeah, I mean, they're balancing classes in 9.05, so I don't know if they're going to touch a lot of talents, though. Question, will this new raid feature anima powers that are found drop throughout the raid? That would be so awesome. I think they will. On the Tergu, I think it'd be a great fight for it. I think an opening fight would be the place for something like that. And I think that would be the way to do it, is that first raid fight has some kind of anima power thing. I always thought that if they ever did the jailer as a raid fight, that's what they would do, but I think that would be a bad idea, considering it would be the hardest boss in the tier probably. So do it on the easiest boss, make it fun. I think that could work. I have a few questions. List 2 questions. When can we expect the end of current season raid tier to be? Yeah, I don't think they would ever tell you that. Like, that's not something they're ever going to confirm until they're sure they know. And then what will the requirements be to unlock flying? Yeah, so talked about that. Delete Alliance Shaman. It ruined the fraction identity. Yeah. Okay. Is heritage armor still... See, this is why they don't communicate, by the way. Like, you have one question to ask and get answered on a Q&A, and you post this fucking nonsense. Like, is this trolling? I think so, based on this picture. Anyway, is heritage armor still a thing? If so, are we getting a new set? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, sadly. But they said there will be some, but I don't know. Will this tie to the threat? The Mossworn from the pre-patch mentioned the death will come for Azeroth's soul. When did that? What the hell is that about? Can we expect more in-depth class spec changes alongside the honor talent? Yeah, honor talent revamp. That's pretty interesting. Obviously, there's going to be class and spec changes every major patch, so yes, but that's interesting that they actually said that. I'm very interested in seeing that because honor talents, while leveling in war mode, are probably one of the most fun things about leveling right now. So I'm really excited. I hope that they won't make any changes to that, but maybe they'll make it finally possible that we could use honor talents and on a no-spec character too. Can we expect any essential honor talents to be baselined? That unlikely will happen. When will Void... unless you mean only for PvP. I don't know. When will Void Elves have natural hair colors? Yeah, it would be cool, but there are Void Elves, dude. They're not High Elves. I think people forget this. Will Stygia continue to be a currency used for purchasing rewards in the mall? Probably, yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. When will the issues with Survival Hunter be addressed? It sits currently as one of the least useful specs in the game in both utility and damage. It even has less utility than its other 2 counterparts. Does it really? I don't know about that part. But the reason that Survival Hunter sucks is because it's a melee. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, Hunter is always been arranged. And just like we have with Feral Druid, I mean, you could say the same thing about Feral Druid, right? I mean, what the hell? Survival's probably in a better place than Feral Druid. Feral's like good offensively now, I understand, but Survival's like not bad offensively. It's actually quite good, and it's been quite good for 3 expansions in a row. It's just nobody wants a Survival Hunter over a ranged hunter, so just play it and have fun. If you don't like it, don't play it. Will the other mounts that we've had to vote for ever come to fruition? I doubt it. Like, they're just gonna make these. And they actually explained this, why this happened at the convention. It was like they had extra time because the art department was so far ahead with Shadowlands development, and everybody else was so far behind that they used that time to give us something for free, and that's awesome. I can't wait. We're getting that in 9.0.5. So it's actually the last question on the Q&A. We now get it as soon as the patch comes, I guess. So. Will there be new updates on developments in Azeroth? Probably, but that will be 10.0. Are we getting more customization like troll beards? No. What about missing heritage armor? I hope they do, but are you going to do something with survival hunters? Wow. Do you have some plans to improve PvP and eye level gap? Eye level gap is that's not a thing. Like, it's just casuals versus non-casuals. Like, that's how the game works. Sorry, man. But no, they don't have any plans to improve PvP. I mean, they're changing honor talents, which I guess could be considered an improved PvP, but Lore-wise, our Archon is dead? No. What happens when a soul of the Shadowlands dies? Doesn't die, unless it's... I don't know, they actually did address this in one of the panels, but I've forgotten what the answer is. Jailer said 3 keys remaining, so the Primus is alive, I'm assuming. Yeah, I don't know. What are those things? Are those things meant to be like, we stole them from the great leader of each covenant thing? Because if so, why would there be 3? Who has Denathrius's? I guess Denathrius still has Denathrius. I don't know. Yeah, so maybe like Denathrius is gonna... We have to protect Denathrius. That'd be pretty funny. Can Kel'Thuzad catch a break? Yeah, he is a bad guy, so no, I don't think so. It feels like whenever he's around, he's just be a raid bot. Dude, that's because he's a bad guy. Convoke for bomb... Okay, anyway. Will this patch contain any class tuning? Yeah, 9.0.5 is the class tuning, so... Arcane mages are suffering. I just want to be able to raid Mythic as my favorite spec. You definitely can. There's actually a lot of Arcane mages doing Mythic and succeeding. And in fact, at one point in the beginning of the season, there was some that were doing such an impressive job that like Wowhead and other people were talking about like, oh, wow, maybe this is something to keep in mind. So I wouldn't say it's far behind Fire. The problem is Fire's damage patterns just work really well for raiding at times. But I think Arcanes do too. They're just not AoE focused. What value do you put on utility versus DPS tanking and healing? Example, what is an acceptable amount of DPS that a rogue should do more than, say, a DK or monk? Is there no inherent difference? Why would anyone ever bring a rogue when a DK is... Okay, that's a terrible example. Rogue has got some of the best utility in the game. Terrible, terrible example. Hey, thanks for championing the DK cause, though, I'll tell you what. But no, I don't think they balance it like this anymore. Maybe in Classic or something. But obviously every spec in class is meant to be doing similar amounts of damage and similar different profiles. But yeah, obviously utility is something that gets balanced around. Like you can't just give every class every utility and expect it to be balanced. So I think they balance both of those separately. This guy again. With how big Race to World First is getting, any intentions on making the Sanctum of Domination a global release? Now that won't happen because that's just not how it works. Like, it can't be a global release because it releases on different clients. You know what I mean? Like, the days reset. Like, they would have to change the EU. They should just combine the fucking game. I don't know why they ever did this. It's a terrible idea. It's funny because they actually talked about this with the TBC stuff. Basically, like, battle groups. Yeah, battle groups used to be a technical limitation. Now they don't have a technical limitation anymore. I bet region split used to be a technical limitation too then, if that's the case. So, yeah, I don't think they ever will rectify this, but they should. Will there be any legendary item level upgrades? Hey, I asked this question. You'll get to ask it too. When will we be able to wear an extra legendary as we did in Legion? Yeah, I don't think they're going to allow 2 legendaries. I only asked that just in case, but I really don't think they will. Voted mounts. When can we expect the tree to be available? Yeah, it's actually going to be 9.0.5, so within the month, basically. And no, they won't. Probably aren't making the other ones. Any hints at class changes? Notably, a Pharaoh will perhaps be given some unique utility. Yeah, 9.0.5 has all of it, and it's been on the PTR for 2 weeks now. Stop allowing party syncs for BGs under cap. Oh, means stop allowing 60s to queue and BGs under 60 in the 59 queue and 49 queue. The stat squish doesn't work. All the Covenant and Soulbind abilities still work, as well as their secondary stats apply. Oh, well, maybe we'll try this. I didn't realize that. I haven't done a low-level BG since Shadowlands. I gotta try that. God, that's fun. That was a lot of fun. Oh my god, do you remember the video me and Cop made? And Rusty was in it too. You mentioned there would be new wings for Torghast with new looks and feels. Will there be wings inspired by Whimsy Shire and Whimsy Dale from Diablo 3? Don't think so. Date for these things? No. Legendaries? I'm not reading that. Are there any plans to extend dungeon bonuses outside their original faction? Not timing a key because my friends aren't Ventir feels bad. That's a decision that you've made. That's the problem. Like, that's what people asked for, was these decisions to matter, and they definitely matter. So you're basically confirming that it's working properly. But yeah, maybe an exalted bonus. That'd be interesting. Like a key, you know, maybe you'd buy like some key if you've spent enough time. You could open the gate in a mist or something like that. But no, I think this is working quite well, actually. I don't think they should change it. Dilvish. What rewards will be coming for unobtainable via updated expanded Torghast? Wait, from obtainable via updated expanded Torghast. Soul Ash sucks to be only slow reason to do Torghast, which a majority gave up on before twisting corridors. How will you make this different better? Islands were way more rewarding, way faster, could queue. Well, first of all, islands were more rewarding because they had a system that worked for that reward. Like Torghast, what, I guess maybe it should give Anima? I guess that would work, but I don't think anybody's going to care about it. But yeah, I guess there was way more things in islands, but nobody really cares. So I don't think anybody really did islands for mounts. I mean, people do them now today, but not most people. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be doing anything with that. Soul Ash, and this is all because community basically asked them to not do it. Like they wanted them to be just for fun, make Torghast just for fun, and small rewards are the best you're going to get. Okay, we're ending this at 1 hour, just like Blizzard actually does. For TBC and the character cloning, will there be... Oh my god, TBC question, are you kidding me? Will Druids get more customization? Bombkin needs love. I would like to see more Druid customization, but I don't think that's going to happen, because then it would mean doing it for all the different races. What are your plans on specs that are currently way underperforming? Flat damage buffs are not helping whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, that's just objectively false. That's fucking stupid to even say that out loud. Obviously, flat damage buffs are helping. But yeah, you're not going to see a redesign in the middle of the expansion, so... If for some reason you feel like your spec is not performing at the level you want it to be, and it's not, you know, again, are you sure? Are you actually looking at logs and stuff like this? Then maybe try a new spec. I think a lot of this is just perception, right? It's like you want your spec to be better. It's not where you want it to be, so you think it's worse than it is. But in reality, somebody who is playing it with passion is succeeding. So are we going to see a Mistweaver redesign, a spec that really needs help in so many areas? I would say no, right? I don't think they're ever going to redesign classes or specs in the middle of an expansion, but I wouldn't say definitely no. Like Mistweaver does seem to have a bit of an issue, and I don't really know what that issue is because I don't play it, but I've seen a lot of people talk about this, so don't know. Anyway, one last question, and of course it's from a guy named Faulty Taint. That's just got to be the perfect end. Oh my god, and you're asking about WoW. Oh, you're asking about Classic and shit. Okay, we'll read this one question about Classic. I am curious about the long-term status of Classic WoW and Classic BC servers. I enjoy Classic WoW, but I also enjoy Classic BC. How do you know? Is there going to be an option where I can enjoy both without having to give up on the other? Like, can I copy and paste my tunes from the existing Classic WoW servers that are turning into BC servers and paste them into the permanent Classic WoW only servers while still retaining the tunes I haven't... Wait, what? Yeah, that's they actually fucking announced that. You can... I'm just hoping to be able to do both. You can, yeah. But you apparently have to pay for it. So that's kind of wild. I still can't believe that they're charging for all these things. But I guess it makes sense because it's completely free. Like literally, you already own Classic TBC or whatever. So, but anyway, that's it. It's fun. I feel like it's fun. Hopefully, you guys had fun. You guys can laugh at some of these questions. But Blizzcon Q&As are always something pretty unique, I feel like, and hope to see more 9.0.5 and 9.1 news coming in the near future. We're going to cover as much as we can. So thanks for watching. We're going to see you in the next video.